shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
And a first look at Milton this morning as a Category 5 storm with 160-mile-per-hour winds. I'll show you what's changed in the last 24 hours with the path of the storm.
People in Florida are running out of time to leave as Milton makes its way toward the western part of the state. This is a live look at Tampa, Florida on the left of your screen, and a live look at RDU on the right, where flight cancellations are already in the double digits. How people are flying into Raleigh before more airports close this morning.
Also, more help is on the way for people in western North Carolina dealing with the aftermath of Helene. The multi-million-dollar relief package state lawmakers plan to roll out today. So we'll take you to the state legislature for that, plus much more news on your Wednesday to get things started. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. We continue to track the path of Hurricane Milton. Let's get to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner with any changes that we're seeing in this forecast.
So right now we're looking at a very strong storm, 160-mile-per-hour winds. It is likely to be Cat 4 as it approaches the coast of Florida. And of course, looking like it could be the most dangerous, destructive storm for the west coast of Florida in recent history. Moving northeast at 12, it's 360 miles southwest of Tampa, again with the winds at 160 and a very well-defined eye this morning, which is just an indication of its strength. It is Category 5 this morning at 160. I did say that this morning, didn't I? And then becoming Cat 4 as it approaches the coast of Florida. The thing that's different, this started last night. The path itself is a little bit farther to the south, and that's going to be really significant for folks in Tampa and Tampa Bay. And then, of course, very significant for folks down to the south because it's on the right side of the center that conditions will be the worst. So we'll be watching that very closely. It continues to be Cat 1 crossing Florida. Will have major impacts even inland, and then, of course, moves back out into the Atlantic. And we still have minimal impact expected here. But rip current danger is something that we'll see. We're looking at still 10 to 15 feet of storm surge all the way down toward Fort Myers, as much as 8 to 12. And so that also bumped up. That storm surge threat, of course, south of Tampa is rising as it looks like the path could slide a little bit farther to the south. Of course, extreme risk for flooding there in central Florida. For us, as you walk out the door, you'll notice it feels fantastic. Our dew points dropped into the 40s. Our temperature right now, 51. It's going to be a really pretty day for us. We take a look at our temperatures. It's in the 40s up around Roxborough and South Hill, elsewhere in the low to mid 50s. Another nice afternoon, too, with a high temperature of 75 degrees. We have the potential for some gusty winds just off our coast. I'll show you that coming up.
People in Florida who are in Milton's path have been told to get out while they can. This is a live look right now. I-75 in Florida. The potentially catastrophic storm is expected to make landfall early tomorrow morning, bringing dangerous storm surge and wind with it. People are running into issues while trying to evacuate. Gas Buddy reports more than 21% of Florida's gas stations are without gas this morning. Shelters in the Tampa Bay area say they still have space for people and pets. Several counties have issued curfews for tonight ahead of the storm. Some bridges connecting the Keys to the mainland are now only open for people who are leaving.
This morning, we're already seeing the toll that Milton is going to take on air travel. There are already cancellations and delays. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from RDU this morning. Kelsey, more people will arrive there today seeking safety from the storm.
Renee, they sure will, and the Orlando airport will close in less than 4 hours. The Tampa airport closed yesterday. So here at RDU, we're tracking cancellations and delays. And right now, at last check, there are 21 cancellations and 3 delays at RDU, according to FlightAware. People in Florida were booking last-minute flights ahead of Milton making landfall. And we're expecting that this storm will impact airports nationwide. Most of the flights that are canceled here at RDU this morning are Florida flights. We spoke with Raleigh native Lauren Tuck yesterday. She now lives in Tampa. Tuck was able to fly back home to Raleigh after her original flight was canceled, but some folks weren't as lucky.
I'm really nervous. I know a lot of other Floridians are nervous as well. Just be safe, escape if you can, but I understand a lot of people can't. Even some people I work with, they don't have the resources. They're not able to leave. So thoughts and prayers.
we'll keep monitoring those cancellations. But as for the Orlando airport, it should close this morning at 8 o'clock. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live at RDU.
Researchers with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, got a close look at the inside of Milton, and it was a bumpy ride for the crew as they flew through that storm over the Gulf of Mexico. These are the so-called hurricane hunters. They fly through those storms to get data to improve forecasts. Their finds also help better understand how tropical storms and hurricanes develop and evolve.
And here's a sign of how serious Milton is. Waffle House has closed restaurants ahead of the hurricane. The chain posted a map of its Florida locations that will close, referring to the famous Waffle House Index. The term is an informal measure of how bad a storm is expected to be, since its restaurants are usually always open.
This morning on Today, Dylan Dreyer is live in Sarasota, Florida. Tampa's mayor will also join the show for a live interview. That'll be at 7 o'clock when Today hits the air. This morning, the number of power outages in western North Carolina after Helene is now below 90,000. So that means more than 90% of outages have been repaired since that storm hit. According to the website poweroutage.us, about 85,000 customers are still without power. That includes nearly 50,000 homes and businesses in Buncombe County. That's where Asheville is, and power is still out to about half of the customers in Mitchell County. About a third of the customers are out in Yancey County.
This afternoon at 1:30, we'll get an update from Governor Roy Cooper and emergency management officials about the recovery effort from Helene. They will speak at the Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh. WRAL will be there asking questions. We'll let you know what they have to say in our newscast starting at 4 p.m.
People recovering from Helene in western North Carolina are getting more help from the state. Today, state lawmakers plan to roll out a $273 million Helene relief package. Nick Perlin joins us live from the state legislative building this morning. And Nick, they'll get some cash. This cash will get immediately into the hands of the people who need it.
And Jeff, it's very much needed at this point in time, seeing the catastrophe out in western North Carolina just a week later after that storm. Now, we do know that the Senate, the state representatives are expected to roll out this $273 million plan today. And it's really just to help get people that immediate cash that they need. House Speaker Tim Moore says it's to get people, what they need as quickly as possible. And Kevin Corbin, a senator, says this will help bring aid and unblock roads and get utilities up and running in 8 counties that he represents in western North Carolina.
Certainly, this first round is not intended to compensate for total damages. That we're not ready to do that yet. So this is just to kind of help with cash flow.
It's almost akin to the Marshall Plan after World War II in some of these communities where literally the communities are destroyed. And it's a matter of going back in and rebuilding them.
Now, $273 million is only a small piece of more than $5 billion North Carolina has in savings, but additional costs could be coming later. Now, obviously, they still need to assess the damage here to figure out how much more money will be needed. We're going to continue to follow this as it comes out on WRAL later on in our newscast this afternoon. Live in Raleigh, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Time is 4:38 here in the WRAL Live Center. Good morning. I'm Chris Lovingood. You may recall about 12 hours ago, we were showing you some live cameras from Florida. This includes this one, I-75 northbound. This actually goes through Tampa. Now, yesterday we saw a lot more cars on the road, but of course, people have had a day plus in order to evacuate. Listening to the orders from leaders there in Florida. I do want to show you one other camera there. We were showing you some of the rest stops. This is also on I-75, a little further up, and you'll see there are quite a few cars in the parking lot here at this rest stop. This just kind of shows you what people are doing right now in terms of preparing and getting in the process of evacuating ahead of Milton arriving overnight tomorrow.
Chris, thanks. A tragic story from the western part of our state. 11 members of one family all died when their homes were destroyed by mudslides. The members of the Craig family lived in a group of homes in Buncombe County known as Craigtown. That area near Guerin Creek is now unrecognizable after the flooding and mudslides from Helene. A close family friend of the Craigs talked with WRAL about what they meant to the community.
They would do anything for you. They really do have servants' hearts. That's the best way I could put it.
11 in one family. A GoFundMe to help the surviving members with funeral costs and rebuilding efforts has raised more than $63,000.
Former President Donald Trump is holding a rally in Pennsylvania tonight. In our area, the Team Trump bus tour is making stops today. That tour will stop in Fayetteville, Cumberland County GOP headquarters on East Russell Street, 1 o'clock this afternoon. Then at 4 o'clock, it'll stop at the Trump campaign office on Jeffries Road in Rocky Mount. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds and other national Republicans will be on the tour. In Rocky Mount, congressional candidate Lori Buckhout will join the event. You'll need to register for tickets on the Trump campaign website for that.
Kamala Harris's running mate Tim Walz will be in Arizona today for 2 campaign events. He arrived in Phoenix late last night. Harris is expected to be in Arizona for a rally tomorrow night. Trump's running mate J.D. Vance is also in Arizona today for an event. He'll be in Greensboro tomorrow for a town hall. 4:40 now. Parents, listen up. TikTok is facing a lawsuit that claims the app exposes your children to a slew of mental health risks.
And here's a live look in Franklinton. Good morning to you. Our morning lows right now, typical for this time of year. But when and where, we'll see the temperatures dip into the 40s.
From the WRAL Severe Weather Center, North Carolina's most experienced team of meteorologists.
It is 4:44, and we take a live look here at downtown Raleigh here, looking down Fayetteville Street from our Jimmy V camera. Nice and quiet, feeling very pleasant out there this morning. Our temperature 48 in Tarboro and in South Hill. It's 45 in Lewisburg, 51 in Rocky Mount, 54 in Goldsboro. I did not walk in with a jacket this morning, but I had long sleeves, and I'll tell you what, if I had to stand around out there for very long, I would have wished that I had a jacket. So you might want to send one with the kids this morning, as temperatures will be close to 50 as they're headed out this morning. And then coming home, very pleasant, 75 degrees. Our humidity stays low. We'll likely have some increasing clouds later this afternoon. We're not going to see any rain from Milton, but it may become a bit breezy tomorrow. I'll show you how much coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. Trinity Baptist Church in Raleigh is collecting supplies for people affected by Helen. Today is the final day you can donate items for their Truckload of Love supply drive. You can drop off things like water, non-perishable foods, and toiletries anytime today between 3 and 7 p.m. Trinity Baptist Church is located on Six Forks Road.
A call center in Cary is providing a lifeline for people who need help in Western North Carolina. United Way's 211 call center was created as a way for people to find their missing loved ones, get rescued, welfare checks, and help for water, shelter, or food. Normally, they would take 22,000 calls a month for other non-disaster needs. Well, during the height of Helene, they took 10,000 calls a day for help, and they are still going strong. Call specialist Kaylee Mayer knows firsthand, having to escape a mudslide in Burke County herself.
For me, it's okay. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. We have a saying, every call is meant for you in some type of way. And I've been blessed enough to see that more times than I care to count.
You should check.
And that 211 number is open and ready for calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long.
If you're a parent, you'll want to know about the latest lawsuits against TikTok. 14 states, including North Carolina, filed lawsuits claiming that social media platform harms children's mental health. The lawsuit claims TikTok uses a system designed to keep kids on the app as long as possible, which helps TikTok boost revenue from selling ads. The complaint also alleges that TikTok's so-called beauty filters can cause body image issues and other mental and physical health disorders. TikTok is also battling a law that could see it banned in the U.S. as soon as next year, as well as a lawsuit from the Department of Justice.
Wake County is reminding folks to roll up your sleeves for the latest COVID and flu shots. The county will hold a clinic today to help employees stay up to date on vaccinations before peak respiratory virus season begins. The latest COVID boosters target the most dominant strains currently circulating and are expected to provide better protection compared to previous years. The county is also offering flu and COVID-19 vaccines at weekly walk-in clinics. Through November 20th, you can stop by the Public Health Department from 1 p.m. through 5 p.m. every Wednesday to get yours, and no appointment is needed.
A driver is facing charges after a crash in Wake County that killed the passenger in the car. This happened on Rouse Road in Holly Springs just before 3 p.m. Rouse Road was shut down for several hours yesterday. State troopers say neither the man driving nor the man in the passenger seat was wearing seat belts. The driver ran off the road, crashed, and was later rushed to the hospital. Neither men have been involved have been identified.
Actress Jenna Fisher is talking about her struggle with breast cancer. Fisher, best known for her role in the show The Office, talked about it in an Instagram post. She wrote that she was diagnosed with stage 1 triple positive breast cancer last December. She had surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation and is now cancer-free. The 50-year-old Fisher said she is sharing her story because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. The actress reminds women to not skip getting a mammogram.
It is 4:48, and while we're enjoying fall temperatures here and it feels really refreshing out there, we are continuing to track Hurricane Milton as it makes its way toward central Florida. Elizabeth Gardner has the newest information for this hurricane.
So here's a look at it on satellite, and you can see that it's just an enormous storm. I mean, it's really as big as the area between Tampa and Miami. So this is going to have such a huge impact, of course, on Florida. It's a Cat 5 right now, a well-defined eye, just an extremely powerful storm that's likely to do historic damage to the west coast of Florida and central Florida, too. It's 360 miles southwest of Tampa right now, moving northeast at 12 with winds at 160. It is likely to decrease back down to a Category 4 as we get through the next few hours, but make landfall potentially as a Cat 4 or a Cat 3 storm. And it won't really matter so much what that number says. This storm is so big and so powerful that it's going to really push a lot of water out ahead of it, and it's going to be the storm surge that causes the most problem. Let's talk about the timeline. This is 8 p.m. This evening, and then this is 8 a.m. on Thursday. So overnight tonight, it makes landfall. The one thing that's changed a little bit yesterday, if you were watching some of our evening newscasts, you may have seen the forecast band has shifted slightly south, and that makes a huge difference for the Tampa Bay area, which is a very, very populated area. Not that it's not populated down to the south. Of course, we've got Fort Myers. You might remember a few years ago when Ian really did significant damage there. They could be looking out for that again from, say, Tampa southward. Now may be the area that gets hit the hardest. But, it could wobble a little bit here and there, and, it's just going to make a huge difference as to, which part of the coast specifically sees the very, very worst, possibly the worst storm surge in over a century. So from Tampa southward, about 10 to 15. And then, of course, it's very high to the south as well. So flood risk, of course, is extreme for central Florida, including that west coast. And we'll talk about what some of our threats may be coming up. We take a look at heading out the door, 51 degrees. It feels lovely out there. Dew point is 48. Our temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 70s again this afternoon. And another cool night will range from low 40s in Roxborough to low 50s in Fayetteville. So it's definitely going to be jacket weather. It'll also be a little breezy tomorrow. We'll have some cloud cover that moves in tonight, and it may be cloudy in the morning. We'll see winds gusting at about 20-25, and not just because of Milton. Milton will be well to the south, but the difference in pressure between the high and the low, we'll see winds rushing around the high down to Milton, and that's going to bring some breezy conditions for our area. We have very little chance for rain, certainly nothing associated with Milton that we'll end up seeing, but down here on our coastal waters, not on shore, not on the beaches, but we could have some gusts out in the coastal waters up to 50 miles per hour. So there's a tropical storm watch there, mainly for folks who may go out in a boat. Right now, our rip current danger is high for the Outer Banks. It's likely to stay high for the weekend. So at the coast, we're looking at erosion, rip current, some strong winds. We're going to see winds gusting about 10 to 20, and western North Carolina does stay dry and breezy, just like we'll see here. The coolest morning is going to be Friday morning at 46. We're a little warmer on Sunday, but look at that Tuesday now, 64 for the high temperature, overnight low of 44. That's chilly, y'all.
Little bit.
Yeah.
State Fair's coming, though. It gets us thinking of, it takes our mind out the food, right? So you hungry for this? Yeah, the State Fair is just over a week away. Get your appetite ready for this. Some of the new foods you can try this year.
There'll be a lot of stuff on a stick. Plus, an unwelcome guest in a Texas neighborhood. Woo, look at this guy hanging out in people's front yards.
Uh-oh.